What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Muskox Quality Flannels. It's football season, even if it may not always feel like it for MSU fans. But in October, there is nothing like the comfort and quality of a Muskox flannel. And if you've seen me in a Muskox flannel, one of the most hideous men in America, even I look good in a Muskox flannel. They can make you look good, too. Go to gomuskox.com to order yours today. And Couch in the Rube listeners get $15 off with the promo code HOFF. That's HOFF. That's gomuskox.com. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I'm not talking about Michigan
State. Do we have to talk about Michigan State today, Graham? Did I play in the game last night? I'm sweating. I'm out of breath. What is happening?
That was
The Detroit Lions are 5-1. Let's get right into these hot takes. Fuck this. Let's go.
No, look, that was the best vibe that I have had coming out of a Lions game, other than the Kansas City game to open the season, in a long, long time.
And the Green Bay game.
And the other
I know
games.
you weren't there, but yes.
Oh, yeah, for you, yes, being there. But what I mean by that is just that there's so many – this is also new.
No shit.
And we just haven't felt these sort of things. And this was a game on a day where, like, everybody else had a trap game. All the other favorites were falling, and a lot of people picked the Bucks. And this was I was impressed. It was impressed.
Is that your first hot take?
Sorry, no. This was shit. I do this wrong. You'd think 5 years in I would be better at this.
Let's just jump right in. I don't care.
All right, let's jump in. Do you want to lead off? You lead off.
It's our core foundation, man.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Michigan State today. I mean, we'll get to it, I'm sure, with
Very much
90
so.
hot
Yes,
takes.
yes.
But let's get into the Lions. Let's talk about this. This is uncharted territory, like you said, Graham. They say act like you've been there before, but I haven't, because this is not the same. And I've heard people go, "Well, the Stafford years we won. This is different. You're winning games on the road. You're winning games you should win. Injuries do happen, and that's the thing. I was listening. Actually, this is how great being a Lions fan is right now. I actually tuned into 97.1 this morning on the way in. That's how great things are. I'm willing to listen to callers into 97.1. That's how great being a Lions fan is right now. But here's the thing, Lions fans. Let's enjoy this shit. Don't sit there and go, well, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I understand it's a long season. I understand injuries can happen. But guess what? We're 5-1, and we're playing great football. You're winning games on the road. Let's just celebrate it. I understand Baltimore. Going to Baltimore this weekend is going to be tough. But so what? Just enjoy this right now. I know we haven't been here before, but this team, we have 5 division games still, and we have 5 wins. Do the fucking math. I think we're going to be all right, right? And then after the Tampa game, I made the big announcement, Graham. I said we have to pay Jared Goff. It's time. Now, I understand some fans are coming at me because you said, oh, yeah, I remember pictures of Mr. Ass and a picture of Jared Goff. Yes, because he played like Mr. Ass. If you go back to my tweets and you look at the game Jared Goff played, he played like ass. I understand. And as Lions fans, we deserve some time to sit there and go, I think I need to see another week. And we did that. And he's 3-0 on the road, Jared Goff. And he's showing that he can play well. Can he throw the ball deep? I don't know, but whatever.
I'm not paying.
He's the guy. But I just don't want to get into the Deshaun Watson territory, paying a guy $200 million.
Right.
Not saying they're the same quarterback, the same situation, but you know what I mean. I just don't want to, 6 years, 250, anything crazy. Can we just do 3-4 years? But the man needs to be paid because there's no better option. But Lions fans, just listen to me. Let's just enjoy this right now and talk a little shit. We can talk a little shit. If the other shoe drops, I mean, it's a long season. David Montgomery, who knows how long he's going to be out for. So, but whatever. We're playing good football.
Best thing that happened to the Lions is the David Montgomery injury this week. And I'll explain why.
All right, I'm going to turn your mic off.
Yeah. You actually did that. I'll explain why. Because anything that's not a season-ending injury at this point is a positive. You're going to win the division. If David Montgomery played the next 3-4 weeks, he'd get hurt. He'd break his leg. He'd tear up his knee. That's the NFL with injuries. You want as many of your core guys to be out now until week 13, and then to bring them back.
Well, then we better
healthy
look at
the
it.
end.
I mean, I like Craig Reynolds. That was a hell of a block yesterday, but I don't know if he's the running back that you need. Jahmyr Gibbs, can he stay healthy? But by the way, shout out to Aaron Glenn, because I know Aaron Glenn has taken some shit, but yesterday was a great defensive scheme. They knew that Baker Mayfield couldn't throw the ball over them, so they just sat back and waited for him to make mistakes. I just loved everything, even though the offense, everything wasn't great, and they even said in the locker room that we didn't play our best game. They were kind of bummed out, which is even crazier. And another thing I love about it, Graham, I know we were trying to do the Patriot way back in the day, the Patricia Quinn bullshit. What they forgot is the Patriot way is getting the most out of guys when there are injuries, and that's what we're doing. So technically, this is the Patriot way, watching guys like Khalif Raymonds and just the guys that come in and fill in for other guys. That's what you need to win football games. And it's happening to the Detroit Lions, and I'm just, dude, I was up at 5:30 this morning, fucking excited. I drove in here excited. I was happy to see you. I'm happy to do this show. Fucking, look at me, Graham. I'm fucking dancing.
We'll see after you get to the 96.
On a Monday.
The 96 hot takes on Michigan
Well,
State
that's
football.
why I'm getting it out of the way first, you know? I'm fucking dancing, Graham, on a Monday.
On the Jared Goff contract thing, yeah. I still want to see him against a good defense in cold weather do it.
No, I've seen enough. You have to pay the guy. There's no better option right now. And he fits right into the system. The players love him. The coaches love him. Why would you fuck it up?
People would have said the same about Brock Purdy a week ago, and then he struggles. Minds can change. And I'm not saying that Brock Purdy isn't a really good quarterback. I'm not saying Jared Goff isn't.
Different situation.
And my whole problem with the quarterback pay structure thing is, and the Lions got to talk to Goff about this, and Goff may be the guy who actually resets the market in this sense just because he's been around and he's already been paid and it's sort of a reclamation project. I hate this thing where the next guy, not even if – it doesn't even matter if you're the best guy. The next guy to get paid then gets the largest contract in history. That is stupid. And you need to be where – like if you're Jared Goff and you are somewhere between the 8th and 11th best quarterback in football, which is really good, and you can win a Super Bowl with. And I understand you have to project forward a little bit because contracts are going to go up. But you should be paid no higher than the 5th best guy. No higher than the fifth best guy. And you should understand that. And everybody should be able to come to that agreement. And you should also understand, if you're Jared Goff, that you're not good enough to carry a team. And so if your contract ever precludes the Lions from being good, from being able to pay other guys once they paid Penei Sewell and other things like that, then you're going to fall flat, and that'll be your last contract. So there's things still to work out there. I don't mean to be negative on the Lions.
But what is the reason for Jared Goff and his agent to give the Lions a deal? Because they do have the Lions kind of painted into a corner because there's really not many options. You look at the quarterbacking in the NFL, and it's
the Lions hung with him when they could have cast his career aside. If the Lions hadn't hung with them after that first year, if the Lions had gone out and drafted a quarterback, he'd be done as an NFL starter, or he'd be in the Baker Mayfield.
Can we replace
jump around.
Rod Wood with you? So you can say that shit in the negotiating room.
I'm available.
Right. I didn't mean to kill the show.
No, you're good. Look, it was an incredible performance, and a game that I think a lot of people thought they were going to lose. And
no, I had -6.5 alternate line. Fuck the sharps. I'll take the +3.5. Are you watching this shit? You nerd number MFers. The Detroit. There's no way the Lions were losing that game to Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. I'm cocky. I don't know what's happening to me. Something's taking over my body, Graham. It's not me doing this, by the way.
Well, I'm going to
super fan Rube.
I'm going to come back to the Lions, not the Lions.
Let's bum everybody up.
The Lions in a little bit, because there was something that happened yesterday that is not a coincidence. But first, my first take, some MSU football. I don't think this is the low point of the season.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
And it may feel like how much lower can it get when you blow an 18-point lead in about 4.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. Oh, man. But in part, it's not the low point of the season because of what just happened here. Because this is firmly baked into the DNA of this team now. This is 2 straight weeks. It's different. It was different than last week against Iowa or 2 weeks ago against Iowa, but it's the same thing. When momentum late goes against this Michigan State team, they lose their nerve, they lose their mettle, they can't stop the momentum from rolling against them. They're just not good enough to do so. And then I think they lack some leadership there, and they lack guys who make key plays at key times. They lack some coaching acumen at key moments. They've had, if you look yesterday at the punt that goes through the hands of Michael O'Shaughnessy, not yesterday, Saturday, that leads to the entire sequence that happens. That comes after an illegal formation, right? You got to line up correctly. They won't have to redo that punt. Michigan State wins the game. You got a guy who doesn't fair catch or go after when he's the only deep man a kick. And Michigan State was already in an onside kick recovery formation, which it didn't need to be there. There were a lot of things that are just – it's not just that they're unlucky or some things have gone the other way. They have made their own luck, and that just doesn't change within a season. It doesn't. Part of this is who the program's largely been for 6.5 years or so. When you go back and look at the Illinois game in 2019, when you look at the Indiana game a year ago, when you look at the Arizona State game, I think in 2018 or 19, whatever year, there have been a number of these. So this is who the program is right now. It doesn't change quickly. You need an infusion of talent. You need guys who grow into the program. You need guys to get sick of it happening. But that's not where the mind of this team is right now. The mind of this team is, one, they're losing some confidence. B, they're not sure about their futures, if they're going to be part of things. They know the staff isn't going to be around. Like, it's a shit situation. And then you get Michigan rolling in. And Michigan's going to have no mercy on them. The problem for Michigan State with Michigan is not only is it a rival, but it's a rival that's really good, as good as I think they've been in a long time. But some people aren't giving them credit yet. They still feel like they have to prove it because they haven't played anybody. So they're going to be out to put one on Michigan State. They would have anyway. And then it's a 5-game losing streak, going into Minnesota off the radar after being blown to smithereens by your rival. Like, there is going to be another game they lose where they lead in the fourth quarter because Indiana, Nebraska, and Minnesota are all games where it's capable for them to do that. But again, we see this as part of their DNA. There's going to be a moment where Michigan State for Michigan State, it feels lower than right now this season. What is going to help MSU fans is, one, basketball season, and two, they're going to stop caring so much. Like, at a certain point, it just stops hurting because it just is, and it's a moment of transition.
But what's the rule? I mean, is everybody saying, do you have to take the beating, the Michigan game, you have to watch, and then can you just watch sparingly or do something else on Saturdays now? I don't blame anyone for wanting to go do something else, but I hear a lot of people saying that, well, you're not going to watch the Michigan games. Like, yeah, I'll tune in, but it's not appointment television.
I actually think the Michigan game helps this Michigan State team in this sense. It's bad, and this isn't spin zone. Yeah, no. This isn't. I'm not even going to write. I'm not even going to write that this. Well,
yeah, you are.
I might write it in a.
Fucking please write it
somewhere. But I think it helps in the sense that when it feels like the wheels are coming off, when it feels like you got nothing to play for, when it feels like at least you're playing a team that, number one, could embarrass you. So you don't want that to happen. You're going to be uber focused on, this is a rival. If these guys all think they can beat Michigan, even if they can't. And you think if you beat Michigan, it changes the course of how this team is remembered. It changes the course of everything. Like, you imagine doing this hot take show next week if they were to beat Michigan. I mean, it would be.
Yeah, I could actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be wild.
And we've actually done that show before.
We kind of, yeah.
And when it's been
23-point spread.
We've done this show before when they've won with a spread that was bigger than this. Now, that was the COVID year, but still, it's happened. It's not going to happen this week. Just watch the way Michigan is beating up on people. I don't think Michigan State's going to get beat 52-7, but I do think it helps them that you've got a game that stands on its own in a season, if that makes any sense. So, what is your second hot take?
Well, it's off the Michigan State game as well, and it kind of goes with the Jared Goff thing, and it's Kon Hower. And people that were kind of mad that people were, Kon Hauser's the guy. It's like tongue-in-cheek stuff that people take so seriously, and they get angry about it. Why are you slurping on Kon Hower? Like, why can't you be excited about a good quarterback? We watched Noah Kim. I don't understand that. But as far as the rest of the season goes, right, I just don't know, again, if you can make this appointment television. The Rutgers game Saturday was, I got to say, Graham, it ranks up there, one of just the most deflating losses I can remember. I know that there could be a top 5, top 10 put together, but man, it's really low right now. So I just don't know why you can't look at the silver lining of Kon Hower. I don't even know if he's going to want to stay, but
I've seen so many of these games that I wasn't even surprised as I was rewriting the quick takes. Well, the Hauser thing's interesting, and we've got a lot of hot takes on him from from listeners, and we'll get into this more. But like he played well. He did some things that major upgrade, first start, good performance.
And Jay Johnson, I mean, other than Rudy Giuliani, has anyone, gone from Jay Johnson to under Dave Warner in such a short amount of time? I know he's your guy. You're going to spin this. I don't care. The play calling Saturday was kind of wild at certain instances.
A couple things. One, Katon Hauser still got a lot of growing into the season. We still don't know how good he's going to be. He was better than Noah Kim. There's no doubt about it. And the offense got in the end zone, which is the key, and it moved for the most part. He didn't make any other than in the red zone. A couple touchdown passes were good. He didn't make throws that make you go, oh wow, or that guy's really got a ceiling there. Jay Johnson, I thought for the most part had a pretty. I thought
you and Matt Millen agree.
I thought he caught a good game. I thought he did. I thought they did a nice job with Katon Hauser, letting him grow into that game. I don't know. I thought they did a decent job for a long time, and I didn't think there have been times to complain about Jay Johnson. I did not think this was it.
All right.
My second hot take. I'm going to give you the bright side of life.
You're only on your second? Holy shit!
I don't know what this is. Yeah, I don't know where we are even. But bright side of life for MSU football. If Michigan State played in the Big Ten West and like had Purdue's schedule or Iowa's schedule, this team with everything going on might actually be a contender. And I know that
I can't take you seriously.
No, I know that obviously the way they're losing games late, it seems like that wouldn't be the case. But there is a world which we just saw Iowa, which has the easiest schedule I've ever seen from the rest of the way out, and they'll still find a way to lose 2 of those games. Beat a bad Wisconsin team that was supposed to be the best in the West. Like Iowa right now is the best team in the Big Ten West, and we saw Michigan State on the road be better than them for 3.5 quarters, or most of 3.5 quarters. That's what the Big Ten West is. Mark Hollis, back in the day, I know he wanted to protect the U of M rivalry. I know the Big Ten wouldn't let him do. He should have done everything he could to take in that Purdue spot in the Big Ten West. Rewrite history. Michigan State's in like 6 Big Ten championship games. I don't know. That is. So anyway, as bad as it seems right now, just imagine if you're in the Big Ten West, you'd be a contender. I want to say this too. This is the second part of this bright side of life, and I tweeted this out the other day. Maryland is 5-2. MSU is 2-4. And yet you would rather be Michigan State even today. Because Maryland, which just lost a home game to a struggling Illinois team in what looked like Maryland's best season in a long while, and a season that's now marred by that. And like the Terrapins will be solid and flawed and frustrating for several years before they realize that's all they'll ever be under Mike Loxley. And then they'll fire him, having wasted 5 years. MSU at least knows where it stands, even at the lowest of lows, and that the transition has started. I think that's a better place to be than it is to be Maryland. It's like in the NBA. We talk about you'd rather be at the bottom on your way on a rebuild than stuck in purgatory, not yet realizing you're going to have to do the rebuild. So there are programs out there that have it worse that are 5-2. That would be my bright side spin zone of life.
Wow.
Bit. What is your third hot take?
I would like to know if that worked for anyone. If people feel better. Is there any word that you hear that kind of like bugs you, like annoys you? I'll give you a chance to think about it. But the State Farm Andy Reid commercial where he's sitting in a booth with Mahomes and the State Farm guy, and they're eating. Of course, Andy Reid has to eat because that's hilarious. Morbidly obese people shoving food in their face. But then Mahomes has chicken nuggets. And Andy Reid looks at him, and he's like, I'll answer another question if you give me those nuggies. And I'm like, and he does the finger, the fat guy finger. I know you know this. The fat guy finger where you get to the chicken nugget. It just, you know what I mean? Like chewing, like taking your teeth in paper towel and ripping it. That makes me go, that makes you do one of those things. Hearing Andy Reid say nuggies and do the finger thing.
Yeah.
And it airs like every half fucking second. Every other commercial is Andy reading this thing anyway.
No, my wife has more words that she can't stand. She can't stand like the word moist. Just really bothers her. If you just want like nails on a chalkboard, just saying moist. But she doesn't mind some really vile words like the C word, that I would never say on the show.
Cockburn?
Nah, not that one. But
Cockburn.
But yeah, moist, not so much.
C word.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Cacophony.
Caw.
Caw.
What's funny is I didn't used to be offended by. I know Michigan State fans hate when announcers or people say Sparty this, like because it's not the nickname, it's the mascot. And I never cared about that growing up. I didn't, it never offended me. Just early on covering the team, like it was like I don't get it.
What'd you call me? What'd you say?
And now
Sparty?
But now it pisses me off, not because it's offensive, because it means the broadcaster didn't do their homework. And it's like people really don't want that. You should know that they don't want that. Anyway, all right, my third hot take. We've talked about these before. Theme days in gambling, theme days in the NFL, theme days in sports. One thing that's happening in Buffalo shouldn't have anything to do with what's happening at the Meadowlands, or shouldn't have anything to do with what's happening in Cleveland, and yet they're all tied somehow. This was a theme day in the NFL. The 49ers lose at Cleveland as a heavy favorite against a great defense. Takes a missed kick, takes a lot of shit, takes some injuries. Team without a quarterback.
They got screwed out of a defensive touchdown.
They did.
San Fran did.
And they also got screwed at the end. There was a penalty that kept a drive alive that shouldn't have happened. Philadelphia loses to the Jets against a great defense. Crazy, stupid finish by Philadelphia. Stupid approach by Philadelphia, which threw 40 times. Buffalo should have lost to the Giants with zero offense, a game that was 6-0 forever. Like, you cannot tell me there's not something in the air. Those three things, on their own, one of those things happening is fine. That the favorites all struggle like that teams that you put in a teaser or you think are – this is why the NFL sucks for the 2009 Graham bet. You cannot assume favorites will at least just win, because the NFL, crazy shit happens, but they also happen in pairs. In other words, the smart bet, and if you could hit this once or twice a year, and you would have lost it yesterday, obviously, because the Giants ended up pulling it off, would be to parlay a few of these. Because if it's always going to come in pairs or trios, it's never just one.
And take the points unless you're playing Miami, right? That offense can come back and cover spreads like they did, because they were down 14-0 and came back and won by 3 touchdowns. But I just think in the NFL you have to take the points. Because there's some, the Dayball last night, these guys, I know that these head coaching jobs are tough, but some of these decisions, man, these coaches do. It's just wild. Anyway.
What is your that's it.
I don't have any bonus.
What's your fourth and fifth hot take? Sorry, I just got
electric's hot.
As we were finishing up there, I got a text from my boss, and I was like, "What is this?" I got text from my mom wanting to go on a walk right now. Should I just abandon the show and go on a walk with my mom?
Tell her to come
live?
in.
Yeah,
she can read some of these.
That would be great. All right, let's dig into the listener hot takes.
Eric Schultz up first. Number one. I'll just keep saying it. We are so lucky we got to fire Mel when we did, and for the price. 2, biggest difference between Hauser and his predecessors is his ability to get the ball out quickly and decisively. If he stays, he's a QB you can win with in future seasons. 3, if there was ever a scenario where you fire the interim coach, this is that scenario. Every week there are multiple instances where mistakes are made that Pee-wee coaches don't make. The players are trying. They clearly care. You owe it to them to care too.
I think the coaches do care. I do think there are mistakes that have been rough, and there's a lack of. And I know that Harlan Barnett keeps bringing up a lack of discipline or lack of focus, and some of that's understandable. But some of these mistakes are repeated week after week, and they're crushing. You're not going to fire an interim coach in the middle of a season. I think Harlan Barnett in a lot of ways is built to be an interim coach. Like, he ought to, I don't think that's out there as like a consultant sort of position in the world, but Harlan Barnett ought to market himself as the guy that when you fire your coach in season, I come in and do it. He puts on a brave face, good guy, relates to players. It would be, if he could get the most out of this year, that would be better. But I think in a lot of ways, sort of being the head of this organization in this transition, he's sort of, his personality.
You need someone to steer the ship, right? I know you want to. I agree with what Eric is saying. If you were going to fire an interim, it would be after a game like that.
Yeah, but
I don't think he's saying it. I just think he's saying that. Yeah, if you were to be fired as an interim,
he didn't create the mess. He's just living it, and like everybody. And right. I know he's not saying it. It was.
But why are these mistakes still kind of happening?
Because this is who this team is right now, and this is part of it is. I think this team does lose focus. There's a lot going on, but I think they did have a good week of practice. From everything I heard, I think they had the bye week. I think some of it is coaching, and I think some of it is baked into who they've sort of become as a program, and those are things that are going to have to be addressed.
Dominic next, number one. Graham is going to Venmo me $511. I placed a fun $5 8-leg parlay on spreads. 7 hit. What fucked it? Louisville against Pitt. Why would I include that? Well, maybe because I was spite betting against Narduzzi thanks to Couch and his boy. $511 by Tuesday. 2, I have officially lost my mind. I was comfortably dead inside until today. This fucking staff, is the saddest collection of incompetence I've ever seen. It makes watching every other team so sad. We employ literal Walmart greeters. And 3, we live in a world where Ross Ells makes over $500K. Bro, I can't. And no, Graham, I'm not going to a fucking cider mill on Saturdays. I'm not going to find a fucking hobby. I'll watch all. Beecher getting tortured by Schillinger in season 1 of Oz would be preferable to this hell. Bonus. Graham says Evan Petzold said the Tigers should wait to spend till next year. This really is the deal, huh? All sports writers say, wait 2 years, keep us hooked, and they always have a fucking buffer when everything looks fucked for the foreseeable. Sorry, wait 2 years.
I would urge you to listen to Evan Petzold and the Freep Tigers podcast, the episode right after the season, because it actually is interesting. He gets into it, and he names names of like free agents available not this year, next year. And his co-host is very much on your side, Dominic, very much against waiting. And Evan's point is not a bad one, though. It's like, well, wait a second. You want to see this guy. You want to see this guy coming up for the minor leagues next year. Like, there's a lot they still have to figure out. It doesn't mean you can't chase a playoff bid next year. It doesn't mean you don't need to sign some free agents, a pitcher or two, a bat somewhere, whatever. It doesn't mean you're not going to sign a free agent or two. But
could we have him on this so I don't have to listen to the whole pod?
Yeah, we'll have Evan on.
Just get it all encapsulated.
We can have Evan on. That would be no, but I actually think that wouldn't. I mean, look, we got a Michigan State football season. Do we want to preview every?
I thought we were
going
to get Tom Crawford in here. All right, let's have some fun.
Yeah, no, but
I'm going to get a Michigan guy. John U. Bacon.
I think we'll go maybe Nick Baumgartner.
Rivalry week, man. 4 shows. Gavin next. Number 1, MSU has found its QB in Kon Hower. Something I've stood on since 20. You know what? I was thinking about Gavin. This.
I love you putting down your other takes there, Gavin. Okay, couple things here. One, I think Charbonneau was responding to somebody who came at him. I only sort of saw this. I was only partly interested. I was on my flight or getting ready to get on my flight home from Newark yesterday.
It was a tirade?
I don't think it was a tirade. I think it was a spat with sort of people who had been pro Kon Hower from the beginning. And my issue with some of the pro Kon Hower stuff from the beginning is, why wouldn't it be Sam Levitt? Like, there is zero about Kon Hower that is more acclaimed than Sam Levitt. What other than like?
But no one's seen Sam Levitt.
Nobody had seen Kon Hower when it started either.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is like that there is.
You can't have a guy yet. Can't have someone to root for.
I'm not saying you can't, but I'm just saying.
Theo Day. It wasn't the greatest idea, but it
became a momentum that became a weird obsession. I do understand that. Like
you guys make it weird.
People did not give Noah Kim the grace they're going to give Kon Hower.
Fuck.
And what I really do wonder about, like, I think Kon Hower has a chance to be a good quarterback, but if things don't turn in that direction, it'll be interesting to see folks who have been very pro Kon Hower if they're able to have an objective mind. The same objective mind they had, semi-objective mind over Peyton Thorne or Noah Kim to some degree. We'll see. I think Kon Hower he's clearly showed he's a notch above Noah Kim. I think he did things in that game. Look, part of this is a production business. They couldn't get in the end zone with Noah Kim. He got them in the end zone 3 times, one with his legs. I thought they did a nice job, by the way, using him his more sturdy frame and straight ahead speed and that sort of thing. And then 2 passes that were good passes in the red zone. And that's a big deal for Michigan State. Should have been enough to win the game. He played well enough to win the game. And I think he's got a chance to be pretty good. We'll see if what we still don't have an idea, though, is like, what is his ceiling? Can he be consistent? Can he make big throws at key times? And he's a redshirt freshman who's just made 1 start, so he should have time to grow into that.
And to his Lions take, yes, it is great to see. Like Fox yesterday had they put the elite teams in the NFL, and the Lions were up there. And I look at T, and I'm like, we're fucking elite. I'm soaking all this in. I just don't care. Nestle's Quick Hotel next. Number 1, Michigan hasn't played anybody, but that will continue this week. Just as MSU fans looked at Rutgers, Indiana, and Nebraska as possible wins, those teams are looking right back at MSU and saying, lunch, to quote Graham. 2, what I'm trying to get at is this team sucks. They suck on a level that negates any natural talent they may have. The coaches suck, and sorry, earmuff it for me, the players mostly suck. A coach shouldn't have to tell a player to field a fucking punt. And 3, but don't get me wrong, the source of the sucking in EL is the coaching. My Lord, has there ever been a worse group assembled? Coach is a verb, and you have to actually do it to be called one. I can't imagine what the hell they do during the week. In summation, they suck.
You're right in the sense that catching the punt isn't coaching. Lining up correctly and being disciplined to do so you don't have to retake the punt and ask your...
Brandon Soward's back there? What was happening?
And what I don't understand is, I know Eckley had the bad punt that was costly against Iowa, but he's been, I think, better than O'Shaughnessy all year. I don't understand why O'Shaughnessy was in that situation. Again, if he catches the punt, nobody's talking about that this week. Look, it's Michigan, the idea that it's going to look like lunch. We have seen this game where we thought it was going to be a massive blow, and it wasn't. This week feels a little different. I have a feeling this one could really spiral on MSU.
Dan Grafe, number 1, nobody on MSU's coaching staff should be retained. I don't care if Couch likes them. 2, Couch can bag on Loxley for making Maryland respectable, but MSU is 3 seasons from being respectable. Excuse me. 3, the Hauser fanboys claiming a victory lap need to watch the game again. He wasn't good. Okay, Dan. Bonus take. If Thorne stayed, MSU would be 4-2 or 5-1.
I don't know that they certainly probably win the last 2 games if Peyton Thorne senior version is there. I know he hasn't been great at Auburn, but he hasn't been as bad as some people make him out to be either. It would be interesting because obviously I think they win the Iowa game for sure. Maryland maybe. Who knows if this would have been a disaster of a, it would have been a different season, a different vibe a little bit. The thing is, Peyton Thorne, like there will be performances that Katin Hauser will have the rest of this year that will be praised that if Peyton Thorne had, he would be panned for. Now, that said, Peyton Thorne would be a redshirt senior and Katin Hauser's a redshirt freshman, so there's some understanding with that. But I don't think he's that wrong that it would be a different record. They would certainly be a bowl team if Peyton Thorne was on this roster. Maybe
with defecation takes. All right. Number 1, cider mills are better than MSU football this year. The Pectin is undefeated. MSU isn't. Pectin. 2, I think of Jason when courtesy flushing. I can't be alone. What a legacy. Do you think of Graham when you wipe?
Oh, ouch.
No. 3, Lansing Airport is a waste until more than one carrier serves it 2+ times a day. I'll walk in an airport like Denver for the ability to get anywhere rather than being stuck in Grand Rapids like I am tonight. Bonus. Your segment with Harry is making me money. No shit. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Michelle. Like that's good to hear that we should be betting more of those games that Harry.
Bathroom humor, gambling, maybe she might be all right.
Yeah, no, this is the Pectin. I even looked it up. Did you know what Pectin was?
I was waiting for you to tell the people. I knew, but I didn't. I was reading.
Okay, yeah, I figured. Pectin is a soluble fiber found in fruits, used as a thickener in cooking and baking. Excellent.
Helps you shit.
There you go.
Andrew Gauthier next. Number 1, that was a John L. Smith style meltdown versus Rutgers. 2, say what you want about Coach D'Antonio, but even at his worst, there were never games like this. We've just had 2 in a row.
You know who would look good in a muskox flannel? Mark D'Antonio. Like he's that guy, that grizzled older guy in a that is who muskox needs to get.
But he's a guy that looks good in a lot because he's slender. He's a handsome dude. We need it. But sorry, I ruined your.
No. You're right though. But if you don't have to be ugly to wear a muskox flannel to look good.
Right.
You can be already good looking.
I'm saying from top to bottom, though. Sometimes you need some help.
Right. No. I just, I would think that should be they should get Mark D'Antonio to model muskox flannels. It's not just a John L. meltdown. You can always tell what era people went to college at Michigan State and started following because the I mean, yes, it feels like that, but it was a Mark D'Antonio meltdown. It was a Mel Tucker meltdown. Like, this is who the program is. Michigan State had this meltdown at Arizona State, up 13-3 in the fourth quarter. It was up 28-3 and then 31-10 against Illinois in 2019. It was up, big against Indiana a year ago in a game that would have sent it to a bowl game. Like, this is sort of it was not stunning when I was rewriting the quick takes in the fourth quarter. I didn't expect to 100%, but when it started to happen, I was like, I've seen this. I know what we're doing. You always have a plan. I mean, because that's what.
I have a template for this.
Yeah. In fact, I have takes already written.
Bobby Sparks next. Number 1, fair catch. 2, Iowa can make a legit claim that they are the 4th best team in the Big Ten. This league from 4th to 14 is absolute trash. And 3, somehow a positive hot take. The Urban was an East Lansing news was an international leak. Now, if or when they hire him around Thanksgiving, the initial negative publicity will already be old news. Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah, interesting. Well, that's about when, because Friday after Thanksgiving is the final game against Penn State.
All right.
The Iowa deal is
get Herba flannel, muskox.
Iowa is I don't even know they're the 4th best team in the league. And the league from 4th to 14 is trash. Let's see. So after Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, who would be next? Obviously, Iowa might be the best in a shit West. Maryland, I would take Rutgers over Iowa.
Wow.
Maybe not. I don't know. If Rutgers and Iowa played 10 times, I think Rutgers wins that game 6.
How does Kirk Ferentz have a job if you just said that and you believe that?
It's.
I'd rather be Rutgers than Iowa.
Because you know what Iowa doesn't do? Lose games the way Michigan State just did.
So what?
Well, that's big. If you win, that's big.
But if you have to deal with that every year, maybe win 8 or 9 games and then get bored to death, it's constant red box bowls you have to watch.
It's gotten bad recently, but there have been a number of really good years under him for 20-some years. But yeah,
sure.
there are frustrated people there. I was at a press conference in 2007 at Iowa after Western Michigan, when I covered Kalamazoo, beat them 28-19, and it was the first time they built it, and it seemed to be sliding down, and people were wondering about his job. In 2006, he's built it and rebuilt it like 3-4 times, which is hard to do. This is not a good Iowa team. It's just a situation where, I really do wish that they could take, obviously somebody's going to win the Pac-12, but like USC or Oregon, whoever doesn't, that other team maybe should get in the Big Ten, should represent the Big Ten West. They're coming in anyway next year. Let them in a year early. Let them play the Big Ten East, a little bit more of a showcase game, because that game is going to be ugly. Iowa versus any of the big 3 from the Big Ten East, I think, is going to be really ugly.
Jarrett next. Number 1, Jordan Hall and Chance Rucker are the only positive players on this team. 2, MSU never had a chance in this game because they couldn't run the ball and receivers couldn't hold on to it. And 3, basketball season won't fix how I feel about the football situation, even if they do amazing. And bonus, Iowa goes 11-1.
I don't think they're going to have that kind of consistency, but I think they don't need to go 11-1 because they got the tiebreaker now with Wisconsin. And so even if they blow it, they don't have to. There are more young positive players on this team. I would argue they have 2 quarterbacks who are really intriguing, and I would I think I think Nathan Carter is a good player. I think there's some receivers who could still become good players. They got to hang on to the ball a little bit, but there are positive players throughout the roster. It's just. They were up 24-6 at I think it's a decent Rutgers team. There are elements of this that aren't complete shit.
David Jackson next. Number 1, I'm dead inside. Checked out. Worst special teams on the history of football has given away 2 straight games. Special teams coach will never work above high school freshman team level again after this year. He personally ended this season. Bring back Brandon Sowards. 2, Michigan will have 35,000 fans at the game, and they'll make it so our own offense won't be able to hear signals. Expect a 2002 beatdown. And 3, Mo Sider is the closest thing to Larry Robinson that the NHL has today. Keep him happy and in Detroit for his whole career.
What do you think the stadium's going to look like?
Well, that's the thing. Have you heard of a lot of fans that are selling their tickets to Because, I mean, are fans going to eat the tickets? Maybe not go, but eat the ticket and not sell them?
That's the better thing to do.
I don't know if David's right with a 35,000.
Yeah, that's a good question because that's almost half. And
yeah.
I would guess if I had to pick it right now, I would say it's 25,000. But you will hear Michigan fans there. And by the end of the game, if things go poorly, it'll be 75% Michigan fans, and you will hear it.
Mojo Jojo next. Number 1, flip to the USA-Germany match due to the contemptible play of MSU. Thank God for soccer. Am I right, gents?
Absolutely. Other than the fucking international break, which, I mean, USA-Germany is fine, but
there's 2 more.
Sorry.
2, there have to be serious questions as to why Kon Hower wasn't deemed ready at the start. Kim sulking on the bench says a lot about the team's leadership. And 3, 1 month until MSU versus Duke. # basketball season.
So there are times where people win the jobs in practice, but they aren't gamers, and it plays out differently in the season. That happens throughout history, especially at the quarterback position. We have seen that with Andrew Maxwell and Connor Cook. We've seen that in the NFL. We've seen that throughout college. I have no doubt that Noah Kim was the more consistent quarterback in a practice setting and a guy they thought could get it done.
Really?
They didn't want to lose this. If Kon Hower stood out above Noah Kim, and I know some people think he was right there, I don't think he was right there. From people I talked to, he was not right there in August. He was not right there.
Who said that? The coaching staff? That we trust so much?
Well, in the opinions of people who that he was not right there. It wasn't like he was awful, but it was Noah Kim won the job. That was
so.
Kon
Hower was bad in practice because what I've seen game wise, he's
better.
He was a lot more ready than Noah Kim was. So I just didn't know what you saw in practice, right? And then you saw
and I don't see
Kim
practice
better than Hower.
So I don't.
Not you. I'm just saying the coaching staff. It's like,
but practice is a controlled setting. You do it's just different. And sometimes when you have to make plays under pressure, that's when you really find out about people.
Andy Schofield next. Number 1, this MSU team is going to get annihilated by Michigan. 2, Hower looked clearly better than Kim, and I'm surprised it wasn't that close. Kim didn't even bother driving the ball down the field in previous games. And 3, that was funny. 3, Graham, have you noticed an uptick in your sex life? Oh, you read this one. Since you started wearing muskox, asking for a desperate friend. Bonus. Ran the Detroit Free Press half marathon this morning, and I've been diarrheaing my brains out all day.
Could have done without that bonus. Usually,
it's probably why you're desperate.
Yeah,
getting laid there.
By the way, yes. I mean, one of the great things about a muskox flannel is the nonstop sex that comes with it.
Yeah,
it is a part of the guarantee. It is the softness. It is it's the way you look. You are irresistible. You feel good. You have confidence. You look good, and it comes with nonstop sex for sure.
Or twice a month. Steve, no hot take, but Libby and I were married this weekend. Hey, congrats. We'd like to thank you and Jason. Couples need some shared interest, and Couch in the Rube is one of ours. It's appointment viewing for us. We play back episodes while we clean, cook, walk the dog, and for hours and hours on road trips. Appreciate you both. Cheers from Iowa. We're headed to Maui tomorrow, and we're downloading episodes now to listen to it on the plane.
It's going to be a long trip. No, I'm kidding.
Do not Google on YouTube plane crashes. I did that one time, and it was the worst flight of my life.
You did that while you were flying?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Listen, man. When the MGs hit sometimes, and you have to white knuckle it, sometimes you do irrational things.
I guess so. First of all, congratulations to Steve and Libby, longtime listeners, loyal listeners, and some of the early people that gave us the idea that we might be onto something that was okay here. So congratulations and enjoy.
Thanks.
Enjoy Maui. I hope, and I'm curious to hear what Maui is like right now and where you're going to Maui, just based on the fires and I know tourists are asking tourists to come back, but I would be curious to learn from your experience once you return.
Sunshine Spartan next, number 1. The Lions will be number 1 or a number 2 seed in the playoffs. 2, Lions Nation might be the best in football. If you ever have a chance to go see the Lions as a visiting team, do it. 3, Spartans are an embarrassment to blow a 24-6 lead in the fourth quarter. I think the team has quit.
I don't think they've quit, but there were elements of losing their mettle at the end of the game. Like you don't get up 24-6 if you've quit. It'll be telling the next couple weeks whether they can keep up.
But when you
the
blow
resistance.
an 18-point lead in the fourth quarter, you
that's
can
not-
understand the question, and
but
maybe the players quit. But
it's not quit,
they did.
though. It's not quit.
Well, I'm just saying you can question it, but I don't think I agree with you. I don't think they did.
Yeah, I mean, when I write a shitty column, it's not because I mailed it in. It's because I suck. I mean, there's a difference sometimes.
Very, very rarely, though.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. By the way, the Lions fans on the road, I think that is going to be, if somebody's doing a documentary in the season or something at the end of it and it winds up ending in a really good place, the road game vibes, you saw it in Green Bay. It looked like at Tampa there were like 20,000 Lions fans there. It just looks like people are embracing this.
I saw that plane ride down to Tampa, though, or Orlando, wherever they go to the airport, and it's like, I'm like, oh, boy. I'd be taking another flight is all I'm saying. I love you guys, but, dude. Professor, number one, the Tampa Bay Orange uniforms were ugly then, and they are ugly now. Bonus. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes from the mid-'90s is the best Halloween go-to rewatch each year.
I actually love those creamsicle uniforms, partly because, I think football uniforms are part of our emotional attachment to the sport, so I don't like the helmets being fucked with. But I think it also it stems from when you grew up. Like when I saw last night's Giants uniforms and those helmets with the like the 80s and early 90s style written out Giants. Like there's something that comes back to me that's nostalgic, and I love it. And same with Tampa Bay. And maybe it's because first game I ever went to at the Silverdome in 1988 was a Lions-Tampa Bay game. Maybe it's because Tampa Bay was like the only team the Lions could beat for most of my youth, and they were wearing those uniforms. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you like the creamsicle uniforms?
No, not when I'm sitting there watching as a Lions fan. I mean, on a random football Sunday, if they're playing Washington or something, like, oh, yeah, fucking A, look at those jerseys. But when they play, they're ass.
Okay.
Yeah. Ryan, I'm a different person now, Graham. Ryan Schultz, number one, MSU should take a page out of Okamis's book and cancel the rest of the season to focus on practice and fundamentals. 2, MSU should take a page out of Michigan's book and cry COVID this week. You can't really lose the game if you don't play it. Something a Michigan fan literally said to me. 3, I love tailgating and seeing my family. Shout out to the great Eric Schultz. But I really don't want to attend this game. That's what this team has done to me. It might as well be in Ann Arbor.
All right, here's my suggestion. Other than I do like Ryan's idea that you just call it a COVID pod. That would be actually really funny if after you're sort of out of the pandemic, nobody's doing that anymore. Michigan obviously famously did this in 2020.
COVID's not something to joke about, Graham.
Okay. That said, if you had a COVID outbreak this week on Michigan State's team and they were unable to play, it would be entertaining. What I would do for fans, like, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, do the tailgate. There are lots of cross-pollination in the tailgating, too, with Michigan State and Michigan fans. People want to see each other. Do all that. Go for a half. See how it goes. Get your melting moments ice cream cookie sandwich. And at halftime, if it's shit, just check out early, go home, and it's going to be a late game. You don't need to beat the traffic. But that way you haven't, if you're a Michigan State fan, you haven't given your ticket to anybody else. You're just like, okay, that's enough.
Jim Harden, number one. Keaton Hauser's performance will help MSU sell the open head coach position. He has 3 more years with a high ceiling. 2, that illegal procedure penalty made MSU have to punt again with the result of Rutgers' momentum-changing touchdown. Players lining up incorrectly is on the coaching staff. And 3, lots of talk on how the addition of Washington, Oregon, and USC will turn the Big Ten on its head. I remember when the media was beating the Penn State drum and them coming in and dominating. That did not happen either.
Yeah, I don't. This is a moment in time. The Pac-12 is as good as it's maybe ever been. And
isn't that hilarious?
Oh, that they're in their final year. If this happened 2 years ago, the league would have got a TV deal and they'd be fine.
Yeah.
It's
a mega deal.
And the fact that the Utah president was the one who apparently claimed that or put the number down of $50 million that the ESPN had to pay and thought that was a negotiating start, and ESPN just walked away. And
whoa, $50 million.
And fuck you guys. Yeah. And then the fact
half that.
The leadership, there's so many people whose tombstones are gonna include this. I mean, it's embarrassing. But it is a moment in time. I do not think Washington football has not been at this level for most of our adult life. Oregon football has been pretty consistent, pretty good. They're going to be good. USC more often than not is good. But you're right. Nebraska is another great example. They were going to storm the Big Ten. Penn State was going to storm the Big Ten. The Big Ten will be fine. People will adjust. They'll become part of the culture. The Big Ten gets better, no doubt. It would be better if one of those teams was in the Big Ten West. I know the divisions won't exist right now for the championship game, but in a 12-team playoff too, like part of the problem now is we've created this world where when you get a lot of good teams, like there aren't that many playoff spots, it creates this unnecessary angst. We get to the 12-team playoff, this won't feel so bad, I don't think.
Kevin from Rochester Hills next. Number 1, MSU's breakdown at Rutgers guarantees an MSU victory next week against Michigan. 2, Lions will win the Super Bowl. And 3, Goff is the greatest QB in Lions history.
Where does Jared Goff...
So close to a gift card, Kevin.
Yeah, where does Goff rank, you think, in your life?
In my life? I don't know. Can we just sign him to a 3-year deal? Why do I have to go my life? I have no idea.
They just haven't had many good quarterbacks.
This is fun, and I understand that. I know that.
This Matt Stafford won.
Yes.
And then it's
for
probably...
me.
And then
Scott Mitchell, Eric Kramer, we can do the whole fucking thing.
Jared Goff is 2, maybe already?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Where does Billy Sims rank on your... Jesus. Nick Palmer, number 1.
It's like an Ebling July.
Nick Palmer, number 1. MSU will finish 2-10, guaranteed. 2, all shows from this point out need to talk about the coaching search. And 3, the State of the Program article by Graham is worthy of being framed and hung on the State Journal wall.
Wow. Thank you. I thought it was okay, too, but...
Do I have to really read this now? I mean, that's a hell of a... I got to go back.
Yeah. You haven't read it yet?
I haven't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. No, I'll
I did
send
it blindly. I liked it on Twitter. I'm sorry.
I
just have to be honest.
It's
This
painfully
afternoon,
honest. Yeah.
before the Monday Night Football game,
Okay.
I'm reading it.
Okay. Look, we will talk a lot about the coaching search. The problem is there's just a lot of time before the search. Like there's not going to be a lot of activity in every show. But the beauty of this show, or its weakness, whatever you want to say, is that it is produced by the listeners.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to talk about the coaching search, we will have Twitter questions and hot takes.
This
and
is on
time
you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phobic Junkins, number 1. Looking forward to the We'll Fix the Discipline and Mistakes press conference again this week for the 307th time. Barnett should get an award for jumping on that grenade. He deserves better. And 2, by golly, I'm glad we sat this quarterback for 5 weeks for our ball security QB who threw 6 picks in 2 weeks. He's a good guy. We won't be going to a bowl, but hey, it feels good to know he waited his turn. 3, the SD4L guys canceling NIL because of lack of subscriptions. Holy shit, get lost. You can't afford as billionaires to at least honor those deals that are a drop in the bucket for you?
Yeah, and I don't want to say things are a drop in the bucket. If you're Steve St. Andre, and you're paying a significant amount of money and it feels like you're burning cash like that, I'm not saying, but I don't want to tell people how to spend their money. I do have a little bit of an issue with not honoring the contracts. And I know technically I think they could get out of them, but from what I understand, but and I think it would have helped MSU in terms of retaining some key guys and recruiting a new coach and that coach recruiting early on if they'd gotten through this season and then sort of reassessed.
Is there a number that was left, a dollar-wise that was left on that contract? Do we know?
Well,
that they could have just broke it off and paid.
I don't know specifically.
Right.
No.
Crum next. Number 1, this is the worst coach MSU team ever. 2, there's no reason to watch or support the football team until a new coach is announced. And 3, with rebuilds in the portal area, keeping the roster intact isn't nearly as important as it once was.
Yeah, yes, not as important as it was when D'Antonio took the job and kept everybody because it was harder to turn over a roster quickly. But there are guys in this program that, if you want to talk about the next 2 years of MSU football, and I know, go back to Dan Grafe saying that they're, at least 3 years away from being respectable. Michigan State has turned it quicker than that with sort of 1 year uptick years or years that were exciting under John L. Smith, under D'Antonio in 2008. The teams that quickly became respectable under coaches. So it is possible. But I also think some of those guys that are young and still pretty good players, part of those last 2 classes, are essential for this not being overly painful the next couple of years.
Michael Warheit next. So depressed about this MSU football season. Is there anything positive we can think about other than basketball season? How long will we be in purgatory?
It's hard to say who they hire, how much magic they can work, and anything positive other than basketball season. Pistons look interesting. The Red Wings look interesting. We might have Evan Petzold on to talk Tigers soon. And the Lions, man.
Jared Goff.
Gotta just the Lions are I'm not going to give the Lions too much credit because there are a lot of years where the college teams have had to save Lions fans for a long time, and they've just shit all over your Sundays. So
Why you got to bring that up? Why can't we enjoy a Monday?
I'm saying
what is this shit?
The Lions' turn is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but man, past all the time with the past. Ricky Lombardi next. Number 1, MSU should be 4-2 and going into next week's game with a glimmer of hope on a 2-game win streak. 2, bring on basketball. 3, thank goodness for the Lions. And bonus, Founder's French Toast Bastard Scotch Ale with vanilla, cinnamon, and maple aged in a bourbon barrel is a good way as any to decompress after a brutal loss.
It does sound good. I'll tell you this, too. A great place for a beer after any loss or any point during the week is Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. And I think they have one of the best stouts, the American Stout on draft. They have incredible beer selection. Just a good character, cozy place. As you get in the fall and you're sitting there in your muskox flannel and you're looking for a place to go that gets that little frost over the window, or there is just no better place for that vibe than Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Excellent menu as well. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check it out. I think everybody's ready for basketball, but I'll say this, and I can tell this based on story metrics and, who's reading what and how much. People are excited about basketball, but they're not quite there yet. We are creatures of habit, and we are cyclical sports fans often, and we know when our mind turns to something, and people are looking forward to basketball, but their minds are not on basketball yet. It's still on what's going on with MSU football, and because it's football season. You wait all year for this, and it's October. It's very hard for people to get there, and I can tell.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Matt Boone next. Number 1, this is a decent football team with an incompetent coaching staff. 2, this football season is the price we have to pay for basketball season to win the Natty. And 3, Michigan is a championship-level team, but with the schedule they have, many teams could be as dominant as them. For example, Notre Dame, who has 2 losses.
Notre Dame looked really good against USC. Yeah, we'll find out about Michigan. They have taken care of business, and they thumped people, and we won't really find out for sure against Penn State. But we'll have a good idea in East Lansing just because we have seen an elite team in East Lansing. We saw Washington, so we'll have a comparison to make and what an elite team looks like. I also want to apologize to Matt Boone here. His first line I edited thinking he had made a mistake. This is a decent football team with an incompetent coaching staff. What he was saying is this is a decent team if they had a competent coaching staff. Small thing, but I misread what he was intending, so I added incompetent, little editorial, which wasn't what he had.
All right. Lions Dog 97 next. This team would be better off with Jacoby Windman as head coach in a Lance Harbor varsity blues situation than they are with this current staff. That would be wild.
Jacoby Windman takes over.
That would be a great hot take show. The day after that game,
Jacoby
Windman coached.
It would be interesting to see what different people, different coaches would do in this circumstance. Are there coaches out there who could be thrown into this as a head coach and get the most out of this situation? It's a tough situation, but I have to imagine there are some that could probably avoid the 24-6 loss.
Tim Horton next. Number 1, all these
24-6 blown lead. Sorry.
Noted. Number 1, all these dick bags glazing Caden Hauser for his stellar 133-yard game is comical. Dude has the arm of a beanie baby and overthrows guys standing within a stretched scrotum length of him. He threw 2 terrible passes that were lucky to not be interceptions, and he's our savior? How low are we? 2, here's a not-so-hot take. We suck. 3, watching D'Antonio stand on the sideline in the pouring rain while we get our ass railed week after week is sadder than those ASPCA abandoned puppy commercials. That is true. Sarah McLachlan. Those things ruin your day.
They do. And they're long, too. They're like the whole commercial break.
They're like a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's like, wait a sec, this is not 30 seconds? Oh, man.
You know what's going to really work? If we go a minute 45 with a one-eyed dog, we're going to get donations. It's like, all right, man.
No,
I'll donate. If you know what they should be able to do? If you donate, make a monthly donation, it's off your television. You don't see the commercial.
I feel like the same way about the St. Jude commercials. Like, I always feel so horrible. I'm like, man, yes, I'm in. And But it can
and then you turn on the game and the pregame show, and then there's more depressing shit. It's like
it's
I wonder why everybody's depressed.
It's tough. D'Antonio, though, to some degree, this to me, this is his comeuppance a little bit. Great tenure, a legend, great legacy. Put together 6 years in the modern era nobody's ever put together. But it ended without steam. It ended poorly. He stayed too long. The time he left led to the Tucker hire in the fashion that it happened. And to me, I think there is a little justice in Mark D'Antonio having to stand on the sidelines for this season just to watch it play out. After this, you move on, his legacy intact, all that stuff, but this is deserved.
So this is a punishment for D'Antonio?
It's just, you belong.
You have to watch this.
You're part of what happened here. You should be here.
Unfair. From the woodshed. At least he's getting paid. Number 1, Kon Hower is him, but the loss has left me with no words. I'm dead inside. 2, after Michigan drops 50 on us at home next week, I hope Haller, our administration, and fans wake the fuck up and realize that we need a coach like Urban Meyer. He'd bring much-needed discipline, an explosive offense, and a guaranteed 10 wins per year. Who doesn't want that? And 3, fuck the moralists that want him to win the right way. There's no integrity bowl.
This would be an interesting little battle if it were to go down that road. And the one thing I do think, or I would hope for Michigan State's sake, that if they were to go down the Urban Meyer road, they would have their ducks in a row before they did so. In other words, you're not saying you want this, and then the Board of Trustees is saying that's not happening, or you before it actually gets out that that's what's happening, you've gone down the road of making sure everybody's on board.
I mean, we've seen the Urban Meyer documentary, the Florida one. I mean, it looks like a clean program. I mean, he did things right. If you watch it, maybe the Board of Trustees need to watch this documentary. Maybe he's not so bad after all. Malik Williams, number 1. The MSU fan base has to accept that MSU is not and never has been a football factory, and 8-9 wins should be the goal most years. 2, Urban Meyer tried to sneak Tim Tebow onto an NFL roster at tight end in 2021. That alone should be disqualifying. And 3, Pistons hot take, Oscar Thompson will make the all-defensive team as a rookie.
I got to say, I'm excited about Oscar Thompson. I
hear good
Asar,
things.
Asar it is. But yeah.
How do you say it?
Asar, I think.
Asar.
I think it's Asar.
All right.
Asar and Amen are the like everything I've heard about him has been, I watched a little bit of the Summer League, not a lot, but like everything I've seen and heard about him has been positive. Usually at this point there's some tempering expectations because the rookie's not going to be that good, and I don't hear that, which is interesting. I'm curious to watch.
Didn't jam on some tape on the old preseason basketball? Watch hours of it.
I have not yet.
Like Rosillo. Matt, next. Number 1, MSU football needs to pull a pro sports team in purgatory and just start completely from scratch. Clean house. Go get what you think is the coach of the future. If half the team transfers, then you endure 2 to 3 years of what we're getting now. 2, Tom Izzo sees his college football season is going down and is more motivated than usual for success. MSU makes a Final Four at minimum. And 3, I have a winning college football betting weekend before the season ends.
Ouch.
Let's go, Matt. Yeah. I believe in you. This weekend.
Yeah. You're not going to clean house. I mean, you may get rid of the whole coaching staff. And I know
that's kind of cleaning house a little bit.
Yeah, but the
whole coaching staff.
But the idea is if the team transfers, then so be it. I do think it's harder to remake an entire roster. Not all the
Not everybody is Dion that could just swing in and go, I need 60 guys, and they all swoop in.
And I heard a really good comparison. I'm not saying this is right. I think it was Simmons' podcast. They said, Dion could be Linsanity. They're going to miss a bowl game this year after that. What happened to them at Stanford? I'm not saying.
But what about next year, though?
Correct. But what he didn't
Let's see that.
What he didn't, he ran off offensive linemen. Big mistake. That's not what you do in a program. Those guys are hard to get. They tend to stay places, the good ones. You have to build them over time. It may take them a while there to actually build a line that can compete at a high level.
Kurt Wisniewski, number 1, the 4-year sentence of Ross Ells, decaf Dumbledore, and Jay needs to end. 2, for my 51 years, MSU Michigan week was fun. This week sucks and my green soul is crushed. Need a melting groovy donuts moment. And 3, 6 games and 6 paychecks left for those cash-stealing MSU assistant coaches.
got to talk to Groovy Donuts about the Melting Moments donut. I think that is a collaboration that should absolutely happen at some point.
You can save this season, Groovy Donuts. Matt C, number 1. Whoever the clown is that keeps writing and talking about losing Thorne, stop. His highest passing yardage against Power 5 opponents is 102 yards. He's trash. Move on. 2, congrats to Harlan Barnett and staff for bringing back the same old Spartans culture, you useless grifters. 3, we have an 8-win talent and 0-win coaching. Ross Els is the worst coach in school history. Urban will get this turned around quick, though.
You know what we really need right now? We need the behind-the-scenes Ross Els story, where because everybody assumes he's look, and the special teams has been a problem. There's no question, especially the last couple weeks. But the idea that he's just some incompetent boob,
he's a great guy.
I don't know him at all, so I don't know that
great
either.
Guy, great family man.
But it would be right now.
Red Shepherd Hall of Famer.
Right now would be the time to do the behind-the-scenes piece of Ross Els.
Rydog next. As we enter rivalry week, here's a hot take. We are little brother. We jump out to leads, only to give them away. We make mistakes on the field, in tunnels and hotel rooms. We're not tough. We whine about how media covers us. Everything we were in this rivalry, we aren't anymore.
Yeah, and you're getting further away from it. I do think, however, and this is the one thing Michigan State's going to have in this rivalry and the one thing that Mel Tucker gave them that's a little lasting is the 2020 and 2021 wins. Like, it's not like there's been some span of 6 years where they haven't beaten Michigan and they're just so far away from it. And that is not insignificant, I think, when you're trying to keep your chin up. The fact that you have those 2 games.
Richard Kane next, number 1. Any chance of this staff being retained evaporated with that collapse? 2, the likelihood of Michigan administering a beating of 56-0 or worse is over 80%. Harbaugh is still bent over the tunnel thing and will want to put State in its place and restore what he believes to be normal order.
Yeah, the problem for Michigan State is that Jim Harbaugh is a nonsensical dude, and like the tunnel thing. I mean, and the stuff he made the tunnel situation a lot worse with his rhetoric afterward. That said, that's not how he sees it, and he's got a team that can put a hurt in on somebody, and I think they will try. What if you had to? What would be your? I know the line is 24.5, but what would the line have to be right now for you to bet Michigan State?
33.5.
It was 33.5.
I got Michigan State in 33 points. Yeah, even maybe.
I wouldn't feel good about it.
I would not either. I was just well. Here's the thing. I was trying to go low. Then I thought of UMass getting 43.5 against Penn State. I'm like, fuck, are we UMass? So I tried going low.
They're not UMass.
I took 10 points off for that. I got caught.
Thankfully, the new clock rules could help here.
Some dude next. Number 1, Jason's stayed put editorial was way better than Graham's stayed out from the last show. Hopefully Jason remembers.
I don't remember. Do you remember?
No shot.
Okay.
2, totally missed the Rutgers game. Graham's column truly gave me the pain that I missed. Thanks.
That's why we're here, for our subscribers. deliver the pain when you miss the game. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, wow, this. We do some stuff that's free and some metered, and sometimes it's subscriber only. And those columns, we like to do them for subscribers. We want to reward you for having a subscription, but and you know what? What's interesting about the column I wrote off the Rutgers game, not the quick takes, but the main column, it actually drew a decent amount of new subscriptions. Like, there were people who subscribed for that column, which is crazy to me. That's just like a masochist type of behavior. I don't know.
Chris Eastlick next. Number 1, Peyton Thorne is averaging less than 100 yards per game against Power 5 opponents, and he's barely above 50% completion. This team would be in the same position if he were here. 2, Scotty saying Mel was never really in the room with the defense and says everything is the same just shows that this guy was even more of a complete fraud. MSU should go after some of its remaining contract or settlement for pure negligence. 3, drawing inspiration from Dominic. Graham, did you know Jay Johnson called for a deep backfield handoff on 4th and 1 again? He called a deep handoff to gain 1 yard. Guess who was surprised? No one in America.
You brought up the Jay Johnson, Dave Warner thing.
I did.
And there was Dan Rochar before him. If you had to put on a pecking order, Dave Warner, Jay Johnson, Dan Rochar, in terms of who people would pick as their least favorite, who would it be?
I'd have to go back and dig on some tape on Roshar.
Roshar took some shit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not great.
I don't know. So he's going to be 3 for me because I know Warner and Jay Johnson. I have to say, I think it's Jay Johnson just for me because of the fan blowback.
Yeah.
I know Warner wasn't great either, but man, at least Warner did some good things here.
Jay Johnson had a year too. I don't know. I think in the moment it feels like Jay Johnson. The Roshar stuff was rough. I had just gotten here. I think.
But here's the thing about
Warner.
Jay Johnson. Okay, you're a good coach. Can I ask you about the 4th and 1, the deep backfield handoff? Like, your offensive line isn't great. That's. Can we ask that instead of saying he's ass or something? I mean, these guys don't really talk, so it's kind of hard to get their side of it.
It's fair enough.
Yeah. Clint Bainey, 1 ball. Number 1, any chance of Harlan getting a full-time gig now is diminished. 2 more players will enter the portal this week. 3, basketball will save my Spartan soul this year. And bonus, MSU hockey makes it to the Final Four this spring.
So, and we'll learn a lot about MSU hockey when they go next week. They're at Boston College. It's like a top 5 team on the road. I actually thought about trying to go to those games. I got to figure out what I'm doing, but I've got my grandmother's 100th birthday party that Sunday in Maine. But I don't think it
can't do a Zoom call. Hey, Grandma. You know what I mean?
You don't turn 100 that often.
No, but you've had 99 of them.
Well, I was trying to figure this out because it was like, they knew there was a football game when they scheduled it for that Sunday that weekend, and I'm probably still going to go to the Minnesota game, although it seems less and less important, and then fly that morning to Maine. I'm going to miss the Tennessee-Michigan State basketball exhibition. But at one point, I'm like, if my grandma had died, then I would skip the football game if her funeral was that day.
Well, I would hope so.
Well, but
that's when
right.
you show your respects, I guess.
Yeah, but what isn't it better to go to
that she's
100th
dead?
No, isn't it better to go to a 100th birthday when she's actually alive and you can celebrate her than the funeral? Maybe I skip the funeral and do the 100th birthday.
That's a solid point, but there's columns to be written, Graham. I mean, you have to be tough in this journalistic world.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
No feelings. Shep, number 1. Kirk Ferentz is D'Antonio with a lower ceiling and higher floor. 2, sit back and think about the fact that Mel Tucker had picked ribs. What is that word?
Running backs.
RBIS? Are you fucking kidding me, Couch?
Sorry, I missed this one.
I already fucked these up. I don't need your help. Sit back.
I think it's supposed to be his coaching staff.
All right. Sit back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Edit this in post, huh? 2, sit back and think about the fact that Mel Tucker had picked his coaching staff with a huge increase in salary pool to pay them. Just soak that in for a minute. A true dream, right? 3, the over-under on number of kids on MSU's current roster that the new coach will actually want to stay is 19.5. We hired Tuck because he was a good recruiter, right? Right? Bonus. Forward down the field.
That's a good song right now.
It's our core foundation,
it's not.
Man. Grit.
But it's nostalgic.
It's ours, I guess. Yeah.
It's ours. Yeah, you feel
but,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't mind hearing it because it's always in a good moment. You know what I mean? Like it's associated with a touchdown.
It's associated with a lot of bad moments.
That's
I know they only played after scores, but
so over under on the number of kids on MSU's roster, the new coach will actually want 19.5. Nah, well, I mean, who knows what they'll want deep down? But there's some good players on that, and it's a big roster. I would say there are, there are 40 kids on that roster that will not only be back but will be wanted back.
Yeah. Shep, Ken Chu, sorry. Number 1, it was even worse than it appeared. An illegal chop block by Nate Carter and an offensive pass interference by Malik Carr that were not called to allow MSU to score their second half TD. 2, MSU special teams are a special kind of suck. Schizophrenic too, cause some aspects are good. 3, Oregon could have kicked a chip shot field goal at the end of the first half and then lost by 3. Washington could have kicked a chip shot field goal in the 4th and had a 6-point lead for Oregon's last drive. Coaches need to get over themselves and take the points.
Yeah, Dan Lanning, I mean, Michigan State would still take him as their coach, but there's a lot of not that Dan Lanning's leaving Oregon for Michigan State. I'm not starting that rumor. But
please do.
There is a lot of that overdone analytic stuff where you're and you like to be aggressive. And, Dan Campbell gets a little bit into this. And sometimes you just need to score. And
score an opening touchdown, go for 2.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? And I heard it was I was listening on the Dan Wetzel's Yahoo podcast about the analytics of it, and he makes a good point. And I've thought this quite a bit over time too. With college football, the analysis of whether you should go for two or kick a field goal or go for it on fourth down is so different than the pro level, because the variance of the level of play, of who you have, of all sorts of things is so different. Like, the analytics really don't stack up. There's not the sample size. I guess over time with your own team you could know it, but it really doesn't. You can't judge what you're technically supposed to do over the course of a sport, because there's so much variance within your own squad and quarterbacks and abilities and all that stuff.
Joe Naughty next. Number 1. Am I the only one noticing this team could just as easily be 5-1 absent turnover mistakes? 2, if everybody got fired as often as fan bases demand coaches or players be fired or benched, none of us would be employed. 3, no, I'm not saying keep MSU coaching staff, but I'm just saying who gets credit for this team's resolve and stick-togetherness? Barnett, Tucker, Zeke the Wonder Dog?
To this point, they have stayed together relatively well, and I think that is something that's commendable, and it has been impressive. And you are right 100% on the idea that it is a quick fan response, and if ultimately, I'd also like to think most people who say this person needs to be fired, if they were actually put in a general manager role or athletic director role, and they were the person that had to do the firing, to sit down across from somebody and fire them, their reasonable heads would prevail, and they would not fire him as often as they think in a hot take show on a Sunday or Monday. But there's no doubt that it is a there are all sorts of.
But people talk shit. I mean, who cares? I mean, it's just if you want a coach fired and you read that or something. I mean,
yeah, and
just
for
ignore
me,
it if you don't like the news.
For me, if you're going to be in my role, you do have to be careful of those terms, and like I'm very careful about calling for somebody to be fired until the moment I really believe they should, and not you don't do it on like that was really shit, because ultimately, not that what I say
you have
carries
to have
weight.
phone sex for coach to call for your job.
That sort of thing can lead to it.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
All right, Mr. Neurotic next. Number 1, caw. When he's out on the field, Harlan Barnett looks like a golden retriever trying to understand how to doorknob turns. These kids have never met a stupid penalty they don't like or a ball they can't lose. And a huge part of that is coaching. 2, yes, there should be in-season firings and coaching changes. They're 2-4 and not going to break 500. We know this because of the past 2 games. We've seen them blow critical moments when victory seemed possible. They are disorganized, and all the decent players will leave without a shakeup. How would you persuade Nathan Carter to stay? Jonathan Kim? And 3, the only rivalry win I feel I can gloat over is a football victory over Michigan. Fans don't take the hockey games and basketball games as personal.
You're right. Football is a different level of personal, and that's because Michigan cares more about football. So if you're gonna, if you're a Michigan State fan, you're gonna hit Michigan where it hurts. That's where you hit them. To Nathan Carter, he's already transferred, so I don't know that helps right there. That's why he'll stay, and because I believe he'd have to sit out if he were to leave, and it's also he's at a position where he wants to be a starting running back in the Big Ten. He'll have a chance to keep doing that, I think, at Michigan State. Same with Jonathan Kim. Kicker jobs are hard to win. He knows that because he wasn't the starting kicker at his previous stop at North Carolina. And kicker, I mean, I don't think either one of those guys. I think both those guys are likely to stay.
Sean Liverance next. Muddy Waters, Bobby Williams, and John L. Smith eras. Mel Tucker era. Hold my beer.
The Tucker era is different, but obviously it's going to be up there as one that's remembered. I mean, Muddy Waters never won, and Tucker won for a year, right? Bobby Williams things were a slow decline. They're all different in their own ways, but certainly Mel Tucker will be remembered as it won't be remembered fondly.
Dave Lakin next. Graham, after watching the MSU collapse at Rutgers and then watching the Washington-Oregon thriller, I only need one hot take. The MSU coaching shit show needs to end, and we need to go in a new direction with a modern coach, or MSU will never be relevant in college football again.
So does modern mean you can't be a team with a physical identity that run? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, look at USC. USC has a modern coach and just got its doors blown off by a more physical team in Notre Dame on the road. I think you need to decide what you want to be, and there are lots of different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. which is a horrible line. Who came up with that? Who skins a cat?
Someone that doesn't like a cat.
I mean, fucking hey, man. But so I don't disagree that you need to have a modern coach and somebody who's progressive in thought and all that sort of thing. But I think there are a number of different ways to do it.
Tucker Tarlson, number 1, Graham. Please attempt to describe what the Champions League is to Jason and see how far you get. Thank you. 2, Muskox says that their flannels will last a lifetime. I like to see Graham's flannel 10 to 15 years down the line. No way it isn't caked in groovy donut filling. And 3, let's just write up a new playbook at MSU. Let's change the way that college football is played. Who the fuck needs a quarterback anyway? I propose the quarterbackless playbook.
So the number 1, the Champions League, Jason, is a league separate from the, like, it would be like this. If the NBA or NHL had other leagues that were similar to it, say the Russian hockey league and the Belgian hockey league, and all were equal, and the best teams from each of those leagues played against each other in the middle of the week during the course of the season in sort of a separate league, the best finishes from the previous season. Does that make any sense?
Just a couple notes on this. It needs to be shorter.
When
like
I talk,
well, I'm just saying you lose me. We got to get into the meat of what this league is. I mean, we go around the circle, and then I'm like, man, this is no. You're not. Listen, you're not bad. You just give too many details. Way too many details.
I'm my mother's son. She screwed me up in this sense. It's
He's
just
blaming his.
I'm always blaming my mom.
Dude, just taking mom with you.
Yeah, no. If you were on the walks with my mom, you would know why I struggle with stories. It's like, Mom, who is that? You can't start there in the story. It doesn't work.
Oh shit.
It's yeah. And anyway, I would put the odds, the over under on my on a Muskox flannel that's 10 to 15 years old having some groovy donut stain somewhere. But it'll
look at
still
your laptop.
Hey man,
no. I'm just saying. Remember when we did the live show?
Yeah.
Front 43, and your
laptop
laptop is something else, man.
But
the Champions,
post. I don't need people to know that.
People know the Champions League. I just gather it's like the upper echelon, like it's the right.
It's
I don't even know why I'm keeping this going.
It's the champions from a number of leagues playing in a simultaneous league against each other during the course.
You
of
guys
the season.
enjoy it, fucking
yeah.
I love that you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, we missed Cinnamon, by the way.
Oh my God, Cinnamon! I am so sorry. I have Cucker Tarlson, Dennis Aminga.
Well, before
Cinnamon,
yep.
We'll be positive since this show will be extremely negative. Number 1, we played well enough to win. Just 2 massive special team blunders cost us the game. The coaches, I thought, called a good game. 2, we covered the spread. That's a win. And 3, that's all the positive vibes now.
Yeah, I don't think there are any more. They did cover the spread. It just didn't feel like it. But yeah, if you had the initial spread, you left there at least with that.
Cucker, we read it. Dennis Aminga Jr., number 1, Vegas could move the Michigan MSU line to MSU plus 42, and they still would not cover. 2, pay Marcus Freeman Tucker's money and be done with it. None of the current coaching staff should remain. Completely clean house. Don't let D'Antonio help. And 3, the NFC is going to run through Detroit.
Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. No. Would you want him?
He's never coming.
I know, but would you want him if he was available?
Sure. If there's no herb, yeah.
See, the only way I could see something like that happening, and I don't see it, but you're talking about a guy who has some D'Antonio connection, whatever. But if he felt like Notre Dame was going to give him a short leash, that wasn't the place that he really wanted to be, that there would have to be something at Notre Dame he didn't like for anything else to happen like that. But you just never know when that's happening behind the scenes. I don't see it. He looks like a pretty happy dude after that game the other night.
Plus size softball dad. Many Spartan fans are young and unseasoned, and it shows. I can think of several losses in my lifetime that were worse than Saturday. CMU 91, 92, 09. Michigan 04, 05, 07. Notre Dame in 90 and 06. And Illinois in 2019. It can be worse, young Spartan fans.
It can be, and I think it will this year, even to some extent. People are just tired of it. But yeah, that's right. I mean, if you are of a certain era, you don't remember how things felt in the 70s or whatever. I mean, it's
09 CMU. That's
bad.
Yeah,
but so was 91 CMU. I mean, that was
but I was 12. I got over it.
Yeah, I was playing flag football. I wasn't paying attention.
Jay Riemenschneider next. Number 1, it's worse being a team that can win and blows it week after week than being a team that doesn't have the talent and ability to win in the first place. 2, I stick to take I had a few weeks after Tucker was hired that he was going to be MSU's Brady Hoke. Both had one fluke good year surrounded by mediocrity. Neither was a real leader who was up to the task of leading a top program. It's just now we'll never see my take come to fruition. 3, you get greats like Washington versus Oregon and the shocking Stanford comeback versus Colorado. Then there's the stinker that is Iowa versus Wisconsin, where the winning team had 10 points and half the amount of first downs as the loser. That's the beauty of college football. Gotta love it.
It is a great sport. There's a lot of shit that's unexpected and unknown and just very different from one place to another. The fact that Iowa, Wisconsin is the same sport is Washington.
Well, we talked about that game with Harry. It was just like, I don't want to watch it. So keep that game away from me, man.
No, it's bad. I do think there is something to be said right now for being a team that, because Michigan State's team actually gives you a moment where you're like, oh, this is something. And then it's like, nope, it's not. And that is in some ways worse than just being a team that doesn't have the talent and ability. But it also makes, I don't know, it makes the way you look at what Mel Tucker built a little less certain that it was total rubbish. Like there's stuff there. There was stuff there. It wasn't like this program was completely not moving on any trajectory, and I stand by that.
Lucas next. Number 1, worst coaching staff since John L. Smith. We're going 2-10. 2, Ross Els needed to be fired on the tarmac after Saturday. And 3, I'll sacrifice the remainder of the football season for a trip to Phoenix in April.
That's where the Final Four is, and I'm guessing that most people would not only do that, they would sacrifice the remainder of football season just for like a warm meal, a groovy donut, or something, or a muskox flannel. Yeah. Well, at that point, you may want. Yeah, right. Yeah, throw in a.
Let's make a deal.
Yeah, let's you just skip next season, another COVID outbreak.
Carl Mylock, number 1, fire everybody involved with MSU football. 2, both the Red Wings and Spartan hockey make the postseason, and DeBrincat.
You're gonna think people don't even like me to begin with, but now it's like even more.
Well, but they have to reach out to find that kind of stuff.
That's
this
true.
is smacked in your face when you're trying to watch sports.
That's true.
Matt Drolet next. The stabilizing presence of D'Antonio has done nothing for this team. All this mess is a direct result of his desire to get a fat payout. The program be damned. You can't claim that you have love for the university, then screw it over to get a paycheck, which is exactly what he did.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done for this team. It certainly hasn't shown up in wins and losses, but that doesn't mean he hasn't done anything for Harlan Barnett. Doesn't mean it wouldn't be worse without him. Doesn't mean he hasn't had an impact. I think it's a weird spot to be in, too, where you're not involved in the coaching, but you're sort of an advisor, and you're out there, and you're a little bit neutered. I mean, it's not and he was asked to come back, and he's getting paid right now, but he was asked to come back.
Peasy next, number 1, leave J-Mo alone. 2, Craig Reynolds sending a guy to hell as a blocker shows me why I love this Lions team. Chugging the Kool-Aid. 3, MSU fans feel the last few years have been the aberration, and 2010 through 2015 is the standard. In reality, it's probably the other way around.
Jameson Williams.
I forgot about that. That was great to get him some.
Yeah.
Because he dropped one previous to that.
That was a great catch, that deep ball from Goff.
Right.
But and he's a guy, again, the Lions are already really good, but he's a guy who raises their ceiling. He's a guy that allows you to withstand another injury that happens, because injuries, again, I'm obsessed with injuries going to ruin a season. But it allows you to withstand another injury because now you have another guy who's good. I mean, it just makes your ceiling higher, the odds that you'll be good in the playoffs better.
Spartan Mike next, number 1. If there was a shred of decency left, if anyone wants to show fans there is accountability, Ross Els fired on Monday. 2, Final Four, Phoenix, book it. 3, Sparty hockey this Friday. Excited?
Excite. He just said excite. He's excite. Abbreviating. Going just excite.
All right.
Yeah, look, I think MSU hockey, I'm happy they're better for people because I think it is a nice distraction and it's a good time for them to be good. And for people who haven't been to MUN, like especially if you're younger and it's been a decade of this shit and it's kind of I don't want to say it's a morgue there. They've had some decent crowds, but when MUN is rocking, it is a fun place to be on a Friday or Saturday night.
Matt Venny next. Number 1, if you consider the amount of talent and depth, MSU's D-line has been the most underwhelming position group for this team. Their ceiling is just a tick above average. 2, Heads need to roll on either the coaching staff or the starting lineup just to show the fans that there is still accountability in this program. And 3, losing parlays by one leg needs its own 1-800 number.
That's rough. Yeah, it's not fun. Because, it's not really a gambling problem when that happens. You just need a win. It's a different number. You're right.
How many legs are you doing?
That's
the
true.
Thing.
Well,
go 2 legs and then,
But this is one of those weeks where sometimes you throw in, I'm going to throw in the Eagles on this parlay.
Absolutely. I'm an absolute hypocrite. I was just trying to give advice and maybe he would take it. No, I don't. Yeah. Fart soup next. Number 1. Couch grading MSU special teams a 2 out of 10 is criminal. What? Did they automatically get a point for not being dead and a second point for successfully executing the second half kickoff? And 2, Washington's Husky Stadium in a frenzy is a nasty environment. If UW is good, Big Ten teams are going to struggle.
Yeah, and it's the travel out there. Yeah, that's going to be a good home advantage for them. It's going to be a home advantage for, those teams are going to have a disadvantage when they're traveling week after week, but that trip and going west and some of those environments, Oregon's a tough place as well. Here's why they got a 2 out of 10. They made a field goal, the only field goal attempt. Was it the only field goal attempt? Maybe they attempted 2. They made a field goal, and then they also had a muffed punt return by Rutgers that they were there to jump on. Like, they did a couple things well, and so if...
Can you tell us, what would get a 0 out of 10?
I think
what would need to happen?
Well, if they hadn't done those things, because the performance was bad, but they had a couple things they did well, right? And 2 out of 10 is not good. That's like my geometry score in 10th grade.
I know, but people want, they want blood.
2 out.
0 for 10.
Keep in mind, 50% is failure, right? Is that you need?
And you also
for
said you saw a little Rocky Lombardi and Caden Hauser, man. You're good at what you do.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Munn Field Keg. John L. Smith failed because he was too loyal to Chris Smealand, his defensive coordinator. If Mel was still coaching today, he would be failing with these assistants. One of the questions asked for the future head coach should be, will you be able to fire underperforming coaches? That deserves a gift card. I agree. No, I'm serious. What is your loyalty to your guys? These coaches get screwed by I get it. You want to, you're friends with those guys, but if you want to be big boy football, you have to get rid of some of your friends sometimes.
There's no question. If Mel Tucker had said, now all these guys are going to be, if they're going to be retained, it's going to be the next coach's idea. They're going to be rehired. It's not really that they're going to keep their jobs. So, but I will say that, and I don't know what Mel Tucker would have done with the offensive defensive coordinator. There's an argument right now that Scotty Hazelton's done some really good things this year, and that unit has grown into itself. Jay Johnson would have been a little interesting, but more so like Ross Ells. Would have they made a move after this year if he had still been around? I don't know. But you're right. There are points where D'Antonio is scarred everybody with this because he was so damn loyal, and now there's no trust that you'll get rid of anybody. Mel Tucker had actually gotten rid of a few people. He got rid of his guy who gave him the advice on NIL stuff, Saeed, who it was, I think, part of the reason they didn't have the right NIL approach at the beginning in terms of the amount of money they needed. And so he had made moves when he thought it was necessary.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
John Madden's burner next. Number 1, if he lived to be 1,000, John L. Smith couldn't engineer a collapse as efficient as this one. Truly impressive. 2, Spartan Stadium will be filled with maize on Saturday. And 3, Brian Masalam did this.
I love Masalam.
Yeah, I love that. Brian Masalam did this.
It was an efficient collapse. I didn't even think about it. It was so quick and done. It turned so fast, and it was efficient is a great way to describe it.
Glad you got to laugh. Yeah. DMB number 1. The Big Ten needs to move to relegation. 2/3 of this league stinks, and it's awful to watch. 2, Mel Tucker is the ultimate con man. His assistants and the program are a reflection of that. The fan base wants to be numb, but the team keeps dragging us to new level of misery we didn't think was possible. And 3, I wouldn't let Harlan Barnett coach my kids' T-ball team. Same with Jay Johnson, Ross Ells, etc. These are old dudes, lifelong assistants, and absolutely fucking clueless. The idea that Kim is better than Hauser should be a war crime. Don't you dare spin this, Graham. I feel so bad for those kids.
I'm not gonna. It's really hard after that game to really spin too much, but the relegation in the Big Ten. I do think the Mountain West, one of the leagues out there that is talking to Oregon State and Washington State, there is some talk of some sort of relegation system within their league or within two leagues there. And that has some interest. If you're a mid-major league and you're trying to be the most interesting team out there because you can't be one of the best leagues, it's not a bad idea to create more drama. And
where do they go? Are you banned forever?
No, you just move within two leagues basically, and you could do it within the Big Ten. You could have divisions, and if you're in the lower division, you can't. You play a different.
But what's the punishment? Should it fire you like to the MAC or something?
No.
For a year?
But say you have 18 teams in the Big Ten, say, right? Mm-hmm. What you're going to have, you have 2 9-team divisions, and you play the other 8 teams in your division. You don't play and then the top 2 teams from the upper division or from the lower division move up every year, and the bottom 2 teams move down. And the next year you're winning a lower level league. You don't have probably a place in the playoff because you're playing lesser teams. The problem would be is there would be years where the college football playoff would probably put that lower level team still in the you could win that.
And if you're just moving to divisions, you're going to get that many eyeballs? Like, I know what you're saying, but if the punishment were you go to the MAC next year, I think more people would tune into that. But you're going to the other division. Like, who cares? But
here would be the interesting point of it is as long as within divisions, I guess, and you're not actually winning the conference, there wouldn't be any automatic bid into the playoff or anything. But it would allow you to play more great games. So for the TV partners would love this. Think about this: if the top 9 teams in the Big Ten are only playing each other in an 8-game schedule, those are really great games. And so that there is, and then you'd have to win your way up.
It's worth a shot. I haven't heard a better idea than that one. Iman Sinner next. Number 1, if a player gets hurt in the last 2 minutes of a game to the point where the game has to be stopped, they should have to sit out the first half of the next game. 2, Saturday convinced me more that MSU needs a slow rebuild with a well-invested coach. The only thing more damaging than us being mediocre for the next few years is another gap in coaching like this year. Best case scenario, Urban is only here for a few years before retirement. 3, the only thing Izzo needs to do to help with this coaching search is win a natty. That will quite literally be the one thing that will be able to inspire this fan base to forget this football season.
A national championship would sure soothe the soul.
I would hope so.
Yeah, you would think so. And what people just need is warm nights at Breslin where the basketball is good and exciting and they're winning again. And
what you need is that video of Kon Hower leaving from the free throw line.
Holy shit.
And double clutching. Did he double clutch that?
Yeah, that was – there's going to be a point where – at some point I'm going to do this column too where – it was interesting because I was talking to Jason Richardson last night for a piece I'm going to do on his son Jace, who just committed to Michigan State basketball, which I think was an important get because if you start to think about, obviously this year they're trying to win a national championship and they think they have a team that has that sort of capability maybe, but if you want next year's team to have a similarly high ceiling in terms of depth and talent in the backcourt, I think that was a good get. He could be for MSU a year from now what maybe Jeremy Fears is this year for them. Anyway, but I was chatting with them, and what we didn't get to and what I will do at some point is maybe him and Doug Anderson and Shannon Brown, like get the best dunkers that I've seen around to look at Kon Hower and rate him relative to them.
That would be former Michigan State guys that are you're going to have them look at it.
And Doug Anderson.
And Doug, yeah.
Because Doug is just a Michigan legend on that front. Yeah, for sure.
George W., number 1, that MSU performance was an embarrassment. I know the players have been through a lot, but I question their mental fortitude when they fold in the fourth quarter once something goes wrong for the second game in a row. 2, I wonder if that shit show and the likely blowout at home to Michigan will make some of those MSU hesitant to bring in Urban Meyer, more open to the idea. 3, that said, any fans who agree with the Rubes take a few weeks ago that it's okay to not go to the Michigan game and let our rivals fill up our stadium need to grow a damn backbone. Can't let those jackasses take over Spartan Stadium.
I don't remember. Do you say that?
I don't remember saying.
Sometimes
I said that if you wanted to check, maybe if you wanted to check out, but if you want to go to the game, so be it. I don't remember that, but
sometimes we both black out for stretches. But
these shows, well, it's not like we go back and listen,
right?
Spartan Johnny, number 1, took my 6-year-old little girl to see Taylor Swift's movie, and damn it, Flash that lady onto the screen as much as you want, NFL. I'm now a dad Swiftie. 2, Steven Izzo needs to wear that jacket on campus here forward. Eat your heart out, Broadway Joe. And 3, USA Soccer should put our most talented players on defense instead of at midfield and just play to draw. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. You when the U.S. gets good, you want it to be because they're legitimately good, not sitting in a low block and just countering. You want to. No, let's. If this was 6 and under soccer, I would agree with you. I've done that. I've used that. I have used that.
Graham's
approach.
the Bill Belichick of six and under 6-year-old soccer. Treese weekend. Oh, Treese with her weekend highlights. Oh boy. Number 1, Graham would absolutely love Drinks and Deception show in Jackson. Magic is real. 2, ask Jason if running backs could catch the ball. His response: are you fucking with me? Yeah, I have little knowledge of what position plays where.
All right, so what is Drinks and Deception? Let's start there.
I don't know. Some magic show she took my sister to for her birthday that I wasn't going to go to.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
It's
fact
on a
that
Saturday night. I'm not going.
I love that she thought of me for this. That I appreciate.
Because it's ass. Because I think it's ass that you would like it.
Okay,
it's not like a compliment.
So when you see
you're
something,
into shit.
when you see something that looks like ass, you're like, Graham would like this. That's like your first
No,
thought.
it's you usually says. I think Graham would probably like this. And by the way, yes, she won her fantasy football league last year. I felt almost as if she cheated on me because I'm like, wait, we've watched football on this MFN couch for 5+ years, and you don't know if a running back can catch the ball, and you won your fantasy football league, and you don't ask. She asked me 50 questions of Football Sunday, and that isn't one of them. She waited all these years. It's wild. Marriage is great. Spawn of Stout sponsors next. Folks, this reporter doesn't know much, but when you send out 4 down linemen in the most obvious running situation ever, 4th quarter, 3rd and 2, milking clock on your side of the field, well, that's the proof. I need to say Scotty Hazelton's dad should have pulled out. The only highlight of this abortion of a game was noted newspaper columnist Graham Couch sporting his Muskox flannel in the post-game video with Chris Solari. Are you stuck watching high school football in New Jersey in a monsoon? Then get into a Muskox flannel today.
That's right. Go muskox.com, the promo code HOFF. And if you want to get a flannel and a hat and a T-shirt, you can also go to gomuskox.com/caw-caw, which is not our promo code, but /caw-caw to get a bundle with great savings up to like $50. Really cool deal. Go muskox.com/caw-caw. We appreciate you, Spawn of Stout sponsors.
Yeah, it's a great bit that he keeps going.
He's incredible.
He or she, whatever. Mr. Benjen, number 1. That was the perfect game for Hauser's start on the road, but no crowd. Tough D, but didn't have to outscore Rutgers. 2, there are no wins left on the schedule. And 3, I gave myself a pee trough swirly to feel better.
There are wins
Tough
left
swirly.
on. Yeah.
Man.
Boy. The thing about the trough is you're sharing it with other people. You really don't want to do that swirly. Not that you ever want to do a swirly of any sort.
I'm about to say everybody's mule's already out. What's ahead in there?
Yeah, no, it's
already weird.
Yeah, but swirlies flashback to Otto Middle School, 1990s.
You got a swirly?
I never got a swirly, but I heard that they happen there.
I was so scared.
Yeah.
I never used the bathroom.
I mean, if you went to a public school in the right setting and a certain age,
Dude,
you were terrified of the swirly.
I looked like a young Tony Dombrowski. I was going in that toilet. Fuck that. I went home. I drove home once senior year just to use the bathroom.
I do think there are wins left on the schedule.
Of course you do.
Well, Indiana, for one. I think Indiana is worse than MSU. And so no matter what happens, I think they'll win that game.
Zeke's fan page. Number 1, network should show Zeke the wonder dog during special team plays. 2, we win against Rutgers if we tackle with proper technique. Wrap up rather than lowering shoulders. And 3, the MLB playoffs are the best format in professional sports.
People don't seem happy, though. All the top teams are losing. I don't know. Best format in professional sports?
I guess it depends on what fan you ask.
Yeah.
You know?
Who's
Dodger or Brave fans, I think.
Yeah.
Oriole.
I just don't like the short series where you play this whole season and boom, you're gone. I wish the series were longer and more like the regular season in terms of needing depth.
Cracker Sofa next. Number 1, if Mark D'Antonio has a headset during this game, the team doesn't line up in an onside kick package. Mark should be wearing a headset to prevent egregious coaching malpractice. And 2, the game this Saturday might as well be recorded as a home game for Michigan. I can't think of an infinite better uses of my time and money than being in Spartan Stadium to watch what I can only imagine will be war crimes on grass. 3, the Sparty No moniker, which took D'Antonio 5+ years of competent football to rid ourselves with, took this staff just 2 years to completely regress back to. A bunch of losers with losing mentality has seeped into the players.
Yeah, I mean, it won't take – if you have the right new mindset, and that's the thing about a new coach, right? You get new hope and something goes well. And I think one of the frustrating things for people about the way the Mel Tucker era went, and obviously it ended in a certain way, is that he did seem to carry over the can beat Michigan vibe, right? They beat Michigan in that 2020 year when nothing else really goes well, and then they have that epic game in 2021 that people probably don't feel as fondly about as they once did. But once, just a few weeks ago, I think, thought as fondly about that game as almost any game in MSU football history.
Tyrone Plum next. Number 1, there is a reason Harlan Barnett has not ever been the head man. He probably just wanted to check out some cider mills and forgot about the fourth quarter. 2, the announcer claiming karma on MSU. Dick. Give me Urban. They will always hate, so I'm on board. 3, the Johnny Spirit of games.
So wait a sec. The announcer was saying this was karma on Michigan State?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, that would be I would love to know what that was about. Look, there is the idea, hire Urban Meyer. There will be people who see you as the villain, but just then embrace it. Dive in, be the villain, and win.
Couch on Fire, number 1. It's always darkest right before it goes totally black is all I could think after all the fourth quarter meltdowns. 2, Cohen Carr, Caton Hauser on the all Graham team. 3, it's bittersweet seeing these former Tigers still excelling in the playoffs. Castellano with the 2 homer games back to back.
Do you like watching Verlander and Castellano and all these guys?
Absolutely.
I do too.
No. Are you out of your mind?
Oh, you don't?
No.
I enjoy it. I'm like, at least they got pleasure out of this.
I'm not a hater. I'm more mad at the Tigers organization.
Okay.
I don't openly root for the guys. No.
Okay.
Just annoys me that we lost him. Original Darkman Antonio. Number 1, I think these same things would be happening to MSU even if Tucker was still the coach. It's too reminiscent of last year, but at least now fans can fully complain without having to pretend they still believe in their coach. 2, MSU and Michigan football are the exact opposite ends of the spectrum right now. In coaching, player development, talent evaluation, winning culture, and just about everything. With that said, the score will be 35-17. 3, if George Blaha had Twitter, he would be on it acting an ass after all these losses.
I would love to see George Blaha with Twitter. Just the few conversations I've had with Blaha, I probably have 3 or 4 a year where you really get a sense of his personality. If that man had Twitter and didn't have to worry about employment, he would be fucking fun on Twitter. I have no doubt about that. Michigan and MSU football are it feels like exact opposite ends. And what's interesting is the programs really diverged almost the second that 2021 game ended. Right? If you look at, I'm probably going to write about that this week. Just the end of that game and what happened since. It's pretty amazing.
Hans Jurgens with his tone-deaf hot takes. Number 1, MSU beat the spread. Yay. 2, today is the first day of the rest of our life. 3, those Spartan fans hating on this team won't deserve to celebrate next week when we beat Michigan. Go to hell, critics. Bonus. I'm excited for next week. Go State. Bonus. Hans, real hot take. Jesus. I've been through bad MSU seasons before, but in the past, I would stay engaged, hoping to see younger players develop. Now anyone can leave at any time. There is no guarantee anyone will stay. No reason to watch a losing season. College football has a real problem.
This is a little bit of an issue, right? I mean, and it'll be over time. There are lots of issues with college football, but the idea that you can't still latch on to something, the idea that certain fan bases aren't going to have hope from year to year because they get left behind in the overall arms race or whatever it may be, I think college football is not headed in the right road in terms of, is there more money? Yes. I don't know that more money means longevity, though, if you make the wrong decisions right now in terms of conference alignment, rivalries, fan bases giving a shit, because college football only works because it's in college sports in general, a lot of fan bases coalescing together to share the same dream. And if you take the dream away from some of those, college football does not have enough interest or quality to make it over time.
Jake Hawkins next. Number 1, I didn't even watch the game against Rutgers, just highlights and read the box score and stats. I feel like MSU has been falling apart ever since last year's beatdown in Seattle by UW, and it's nerve-wracking when words from a former shitty coach, John L., are proven right today. 2, as much as I like and respect Joe Rexrode, I don't understand how absolutely nobody cares about Pitt football. They may not be a blue blood or of college football, but they've still produced NFL greats like Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, and Larry Fitzgerald, LaShawn McCoy, and Aaron Donald. 3, great job by the Washington Huskies to pull off the win against the Oregon Ducks. If the Dogs make it through their gauntlet November schedule and win the Pac-12, give Penix the Heisman Trophy and make Washington the number 1 team in college football playoff.
Like, the thing about Pitt is they can have great players. There are lots of teams that do. It's a city school, right? It's, they've had more great pros than Northwestern, but Northwestern's had some good players
and
too.
How long has it been since Aaron Donald has been there?
A few years.
I mean, I know that they've had pros, but the guys he named are just...
Yeah, and it's more about the level of care. Like, Western Michigan that I covered has a number of guys in the pros. They had the Raiders linebacker. No, that was Eastern Michigan guy. Eastern Michigan has a number of guys in the pros. Central Western, but they don't have... It's not the same intense, massive fan base interest that you have at some of these traditional state schools. And the city schools struggle with this too. That's just what it is. If you're a coach at a city school, it's different than being a coach at Michigan State or Michigan and Ohio State obviously is in Columbus, but Ohio State is the pro sports team there essentially. So, it's just the way it is. It's not about their talent. It's about the give a shit from the community.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy finally here. Number 1, Lions going to win a close one against the Eagles in the NFC Championship and then win the Super Bowl by 21. 2, Izzo going to get 2 more natties before he retires, at the least. And 3, I think Jason needs to be more mordacious.
Mordacious. All right. We're gonna.
Does that mean more high?
It means denoting or using a biting sarcasm. So, I think you do it well.
I try.
Yeah.
Try.
Nice job with a million and a half Twitter hot takes today.
Fuck it, the Lions won. Let's read more.
We appreciate all of you producing our show, all of your takes, and the discussion it spurs. Thanks to Midtown Brewing Company. Go to midtownbrewing.net or just swing on by for just about any occasion in downtown Lansing, including Trivia Tuesday, 7 p.m. Tuesday nights. Thanks to Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com. Again, our promo code for $15 off your flannel is HOFF, Hoff. Gomuskox.com. You'll love the way you look. You'll love the feel, everything. We'll be back. We'll talk to Harry. Maybe we'll get like Nick Baumgartner, somebody talk Michigan State. We'll do that Tuesday or Wednesday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.